The difference between a good river cruise and an unforgettable one comes down to the shore excursions you choose. Here are the cultural experiences that brought us closer together as a couple. Here's what nobody tells you about river cruise shore excursions. They're not just about checking off landmarks. They're about moments that make you stop, look at your partner and say, or think if you don't want to say it, I'm so glad we're experiencing this together. But here's the problem. When you're booking a river cruise, you get this overwhelming list of excursion options. And it's really easy to just pick the most popular ones or follow what everyone else is doing. Hi, I'm Eric, and after multiple river cruises and dozens of shore excursions, I've learned something important. The excursions that create lasting memories aren't always the obvious ones. They're the ones that match your interests, your pace, and what you actually want from travel as a couple. So today I'm sharing the shore excursions that brought us closer together, the ones we still talk about years later, and how to choose experiences that feel meaningful instead of just busy. Let me tell you about the shore excursions we regret. We'll start there. Our first river cruise, we were in Vienna, incredible city, and we signed up for highlights of Vienna because, well, everyone else was doing it. 45 people on a bus, microphone guide, quick photo stops at the Schönbrunn Palace, St. Stephen's Cathedral, the Opera House. We saw everything. We experienced nothing. We got back to the ship that afternoon and my wife said, that felt like we were just checking boxes. I don't feel like we actually experienced Vienna. And honestly, she was right. The next day we had a free morning. So we got off the ship on our own, found a traditional Viennese coffee house, sat there for 2 hours, drinking coffee, eating apple strudel, watching locals read newspapers, just absorbing the culture. That coffee house, we still talk about it. The bus tour, I barely remember it. That's when we learned the best shore excursions aren't about seeing the most things. They're about feeling something, connecting to a place, having an experience that's yours and yours alone. So let me share the shore excursions that actually created lasting memories for us. We were cruising the Rhine, and there was an optional excursion to a small family vineyard in France's Alsace region. Only 15 people signed up. Most chose the bigger, more famous winery tour. Best decision we could have made. The vineyard was run by a woman whose family had been making wine there for 6 generations. We sat in her courtyard, tasted wines that she'd made, heard stories about the harvest, learned about how the region's history being passed between France and Germany shaped the wine culture. It was intimate, it was personal, it was real. And here's what made it even more special. After the tasting, my wife and I just walked through the vineyard together. Just us, no group, no schedule. We talked about the trip, about what we wanted to do next, about how good it felt to be together. That excursion wasn't about the wine, though it was pretty good. It was about the experience, creating space for us to connect. That's what the best shore excursions do, at least in my opinion. We were on the Danube. We signed up for a Hungarian cooking class in a small village. We learned to make goulash and strudel from a local grandmother in her actual home. There were maybe 10 of us. We chopped vegetables, we rolled dough, we laughed when we messed it up, which we did. And then we all sat down together and ate what we made. My wife and I still make that goulash recipe at home. And every time we do, we talk about that afternoon in Hungary, about the grandmother who taught us, about the other couples we met, about how good it felt to learn something together instead of just observing. In Regensburg, Germany, we took a walking tour with a local historian who specialized in medieval architecture. It was a small group. There was, I want to say, 8 of us. And he didn't just point at buildings and recite facts. He told stories about the families that lived there, about what daily life was in the 1400s, about how the city survived wars and plagues and all kinds of changes. We walked through narrow streets, touched 800-year-old stone walls, stood in courtyards that hadn't changed in centuries. And because the group was small, we could ask questions, we could have conversations, we could actually absorb what we were learning. That tour made history feel so alive. And it gave my wife and I so much to talk about that evening over dinner. So how do you actually choose shore excursions that will create these kinds of lasting memories? Here's what we've learned. 1, choose experiences over landmarks. Don't just pick excursions because they hit famous sites, the Eiffel Tower, the Schönbrunn Palace. Ask yourself, will this let us actually experience something, or are we just going to take photos and leave? Cooking classes, wine tastings with small producers, walking tours with local experts, market visits where you can talk to the vendors. These create memories because you're participating, not just observing. 2, look for small group options. River cruise lines usually offer different activity levels and group sizes for the same destination. The active or small group options cost a bit more, but they're usually worth it. 15 people with a local guide beats 45 people on a bus every single time. 3, consider your energy and interests as a couple. So here's something that's pretty important. You don't have to do an excursion every single day, and you don't have to choose the most active option just because you can. If you're not into hiking, don't book the strenuous castle hike. If you don't care about military history, skip the battlefield tour. Choose excursions that match what you actually enjoy. Some of our best days were when we skipped the organized excursion, got off the ship on our own, and just wandered. Found a cafe, explored a market, sat in a park, and watched life happen. 4, mix structured and unstructured time. We learned to balance our excursions. One day we'll do a fully guided tour. The next day we'll explore on our own or take a shorter excursion and have some free time in the afternoon. That rhythm kept us from feeling exhausted and gave us space to process what we were experiencing. 5, ask about local interactions. When you're looking at short excursion options, look for ones that include interactions with locals, meeting winemakers, learning from artisans, cooking with families, talking to historians who live in the places you're visiting. Those human connections are what makes experiences memorable. Let me quickly share a few short excursions that surprised us. Ones we almost didn't book but ended up absolutely love it. We cruised the Danube in December, and honestly, I thought December markets would be too touristy. But the Nuremberg market was magical. The smells, the lights, the handmade crafts. We bought ornaments we still hang on our tree, and we drank glowing mulled wine while snow fell. It was absolutely perfect. On the Rhine, there was an optional bike tour through the Netherlands. I hadn't been on a bike in years, but we tried it, and it was one of our favorite dates. Biking past windmills and tulip fields, stopping at a cheese farm, feeling the wind and the freedom. I felt like a kid again. On the Seine, we took a perfume making workshop in Grasse, the perfume capital of the world. We learned about fragrance notes, created our own custom scents, and brought them home in little bottles. Every time I wear mine, I still think about that day in France. The point is, don't be afraid to try something unexpected. Some of the best memories come from excursions you almost skipped. Here's what I really want you to understand about shore excursions. At this stage of life, when you're finally traveling as just the two of you again, the experiences you choose matter. They're not just about what you see, they're about what you feel, what you learn, what you share. The excursions that created lasting memories for us weren't the most expensive or the most famous. They were the ones where we learned something together, laughed together, had conversations we wouldn't have had otherwise. They were the ones that reminded us why we love traveling together. And that's what you want from this chapter of life, right? Travel that brings you closer, experiences that feel meaningful, memories you'll actually treasure. The short excursions you choose can make that happen. So when you're booking your river cruise and looking at that overwhelming list of short excursions, remember, choose experiences over landmarks, look for small groups, match excursions to your actual interests, and don't be afraid to explore on your own. If you found this helpful, give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. I share honest cruise advice and travel tips specifically for empty nesters who want meaningful experiences in this chapter of life. Now, here's something I haven't talked about yet, but it's absolutely crucial. The ship size itself makes a massive difference in your entire cruise experience. So stick around, because the next video in this series is all about why small ships create better cruise experiences. I'm breaking down how having 150 passengers instead of 3,000 or 5,000 or 8,000 really transforms everything, from the excursions we just talked about to the relationships you build on board to the ports you can actually access. Now, drop a comment below. Tell me what was your most memorable shore excursion that you've ever taken. Or if you haven't cruised yet, what kind of experience are you most excited to try? I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching. Here's to choosing experiences that bring you closer. I'll see you in the next one.